Today is going to be the third video in my video series, Important Tips for Language Learning. And today's video is going to be about resources. Getting the right resources that you will need to learn a language. And there are many different resources out there, lots and lots and lots to choose from. So what should you pick? How do you know what you should get and what you should not get? So I'm going to show you guys the things I like to have when learning a language and why, and in hopes that you'll probably benefit too. I mean, everybody's different, everybody learns different, so everybody is going to like different resources. Some people like classes. I personally have, there's ups and downs to classes. And then there's, it's always, I think, funner to study by yourself. So, I'm going to show you what I like to use. First and foremost, I think the most important thing that you should have is a language manual. Some people would call it a textbook, or I guess a language manual is the word I like to use. But here's a living language, Ultimate Arabic, Ultimate Series. So this is just, like a language manual is really just gonna teach you the basics. It's gonna teach you all the most important words to know, the basic words like hi, how are you, I'm American, I'm this old, da 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 da. And usually they bring you up to an intermediate level. Like they'll definitely get you through the beginner stage. Some of them will even bring you further than an intermediate level to where you're almost at a stage where you may be able to call yourself like basic fluency, definitely conversational. Like for instance, my German. If you guys have watched my German videos, I consider my German at a basic fluency. I can talk about most things, and I'm comfortable in most situations. But let's say I wanted to talk about something complex, like something like politics, I would not be able to do it. Philosophy, kind of little, but most of the more technical topics I wouldn't really be able to speak that well in. So here's one from Living Language, one language manual, and this one says beginner intermediate, so I guess it's supposed to bring you up to a pretty good level. It goes very far. Usually these things will teach you past tense, future tense, all the good stuff you should know. So that's one Living Language Ultimate Series. But there are other series that make great books too. If you know French, there's a French series called Assimil. Here's another Arabic book. And Assimil, they also make French publications, English publications, even though it's a French company. But they have more books in French, so if you know French, that's a plus. But they do make English publications. And from what I've heard, some are great, some are bad. Depends what language. A lot of people don't like the Arabic one. I think it's okay. I've heard the Japanese one is pretty good. So, I don't know. But Assimil, some people like it. Then you have Colloquial series. This one's Colloquial Mandarin Chinese. I really like the Colloquial series a lot. It's really based on dialogues, and so listening. So it comes with audio, it comes with CDs, and you go dialogue by dialogue. And every dialogue, you learn the new words for the new dialogue and the new grammar that's introduced in the dialogue. So everything's real progressive, and by the end of the book, you can definitely call yourself intermediate. It says Mandarin Chinese, the complete course for beginners. So it's supposed to get you through the beginner stage. And Colloquial's one of my favorites. I really like Colloquial. And then I also really like the Teach Yourself series. Teach Yourself, Colloquial are like my two favorite, pretty much. So this one's for Turkish. And here again, this is to get you to pretty much through the beginner stage to an intermediate level. It says, learn to speak and understand and write Turkish. Progress quickly beyond the basics. Explore the language in depth. So really, you know, these books, they kind of bring you to an intermediate level pretty much. I mean, using a language manual won't make you fluent. You can't just read this book and like be fluent. You got to put lots of work into it. You have to do exercises. You have to listen a lot over and over and over again to the content. You have to try and write a lot. You know, it's some work, but if you make it fun, then it's not work. It's just having fun. So that's pretty important. That's the most crucial kind of core, I guess you could say, vocabulary structures. That's the core resource, the most important resource. The next best thing is actually finding a native speaker who's a friend who can teach you and help you learn it. Which, for my Swahili, for instance, I have a Kenyan friend, so he can help me with my Swahili, and I always ask him, and I learn a lot of new words just through asking him, hey, what's that in Swahili? So, you know, that's always a way too. And then one thing I like to do too is I like to get notebooks, you know, just cheap ones, nothing fancy. And then I like to write down all the new vocabulary I learned in the notebooks, and I like to do the exercises from the language manuals in my notebooks. And yeah, write down new words, and you know, if it's a different script, I'll practice the script in the notebooks and stuff. So I have one notebook for each language. For German, I actually have like 3 or 4 notebooks of just full of stuff, because with me anyways, I remember things better if I write it down over and over. So I'll listen to a dialogue and I'll like write it down as I'm listening. You know, or I'll just write about how my day was, or I'll just write a really ridiculous funny story. You know, just using the new words, no matter how crazy the story is. Maybe the crazier, the funner it is to do, and the better you remember, I think. So I like to have fun with it. So, yeah. And then besides a language manual, because a language manual, like I said, will teach you the core. It'll teach you the important vocabulary and the important grammatical structures for the language, usually. But then, I think it's really crucial that you also get a dictionary. And preferably a dictionary that's for your native language and the target language. For instance, this is a German to English dictionary, English to German. So if you see a German word you don't know, you can look it up, find the English translation. Or if you're trying to figure out what a German word is, you could find what the word is in English and then figure out what the translation is into German. And I think Oxford probably makes the best dictionaries for foreign language stuff. Definitely Oxford. They're just they make amazing dictionaries, period. And if you get, you know, the bigger ones like this that are $30, I mean, this is wonderful. It's got so much. Not only is it a dictionary, but it also has tips on how to write letters, how to write resumes, how to, it says, to a university about admission as a research student. So it gets real specific on which letters you're writing and how to write them. Teaches you how to do email, all the words for emails, all the, like, what's it called? All the, like, text messaging slang in that language. So, I mean, it's got, like, a lot of stuff in here that's useful. It's not like just a dictionary. So I think that's really good to have a big dictionary like this at home. I mean, I am nerdy with languages. I can sit and read a dictionary about, you know, like in a different language. Just read it like I can a novel. And it's just exciting. Every new word's a new adventure. So, I mean, that's one way I learn words. If one word stands out enough to me, I'll remember it. So yeah, I think it's really good to have the dictionary and the language manual. Let's see. Also, I think it's good to maybe have a grammar book, like a grammar workbook for whatever language you're trying to learn. For instance, like, I'm just naturally not good at grammar, period. So I get them because takes a long time for grammar to sit in for me, and still, and like, I'm not that great with grammar in my languages, even in my English. So, yeah, I like to get grammar books too. But it's not that big of a deal, not everybody needs them. But it's good to have as like a resource when you're trying to talk, or say or write, pretty grammatically complex sentences. So that's kind of important. And then I also like to get some pocket dictionaries. This is one of my favorite companies that makes pocket dictionaries. It's a German company, Langenscheidt. But they have lots of English publications, but they make little pocket dictionaries for various languages. And these are my favorite. And then I also have some other pocket dictionaries from other companies. Here's one for Swahili. Swahili, English, English Swahili. And it's got a little phrasebook section in the back. So this is pretty nice. And then here's a pocket Malay dictionary. Malay is a language I plan to learn in the future. Bahasa Malaysia and Bahasa Indonesia. The Bahasas. I plan on learning them both together someday. So, yeah. I think it's really nice to have a pocket dictionaries. Like I said, I am a language nerd. I make this channel and I make these videos, but in real life, it's even worse, maybe. Cause yeah, I like to carry lots of pocket dictionaries with me in my pockets, and when I get bored, I'll just sit and read them and try to learn new words. Cause I do that. I think also too, you want to find content that's fun, because you gotta make language learning fun, because it'll be so much easier if you do. So I like to get dual language books on topics that I find interesting. And so a dual language book is going to have your target language on one side and English on the other. This one is selected German folk tales. So it's like fairy tales. Märchen means fairy tales. So, yeah. I really like it. And they're from the Brothers Grimm, or Die Gebrüder Grimm. Yeah. Who I really like. So, it's important to get dual language books, on topics you're interested in. And dual language books are good once you kind of get to that, once you're getting through the beginner stage and you're more towards the intermediate stage. That's when it's good to use dual language books, because then you can learn a lot of new words and you can get into things that are real interesting. Because the beginner stage always kind of sucks, to be honest, because you don't get to read things that are interesting. You just have to get through the basics. But then once you're through that, you can delve into subjects you find really interesting, and then it gets really fun from then on there. So yeah, I think it's nice to have some dual language books. Also, what's crucial, especially in the beginning, is having some phrase books. So here's a Malay phrase book from Lonely Planet, and I think Lonely Planet is a really good series. This is one of their older phrase books. But yeah, it's got sections, how to introduce yourself, then it's got a little section on pronunciation, grammar, then it has a section on meeting people, getting around, accommodation, around town, going out, family, interest, shopping, food in the country, health, specific needs, time, dates, festivals, numbers, amounts, emergencies, two-way dictionary. So, yeah, phrase books, why they're so important is because they will teach you the very essential, important content you will need for day-to-day living. Let's say you went to the country, and if you could only learn 100 words, you would find all the most important ones in here that you would need to know. This has the crucial words. And, phrases are easy to learn in any language. You just listen over and over and over to the phrase, and eventually you'll memorize it, no matter kind of what it is. And if you have a phrase book, you could always carry it with you. So even if you don't pronounce it right to the native speaker, you can just point that, they'll get it. But I mean, it's really important because you get the real important, necessary, crucial vocabulary, phrases, and things you need to know. If you ever actually plan on going to that country, you know. Here's one of the newer Lonely Planet phrase books. This one's for Chinese, and the newer ones are color-coded and they're real nice, real fancy. And I really like Lonely Planet. And another one I really like is the Rick Steves phrase books. And that also has a little dictionary in the back. Rick Steves. This series only makes phrase books for European languages, unfortunately. But they are good phrase books. So if you are learning a European language, I would recommend you get one. I believe there's also one for French, Italian, Spanish. I'm sure there's some for other languages too. But Rick Steves is pretty good. And I think pretty much that's going to be the most important stuff you're going to need. There's definitely always internet resources. I mean, there's YouTube channels that specialize in teaching a specific language. Like, for instance, Cool Man Sam comes to mind. And he teaches Swahili. And then you have, I think it's Learning Arabic with Maha. So, yeah, there's language channels out there, which are always nice. And there's Learn Chinese with, like, Piggy, I believe. So you can always find those, and those are always, they're usually pretty helpful, and I mean, people put a lot of effort into them, and you can really learn a lot of stuff, so you should look for those. And I mean, there's always websites out there too. You can go on to Omniglot, and you can learn a lot of stuff about a language, and then they got links to other websites. So, yeah, definitely don't give up. And I mean, a lot of these books I just showed you, it seems like a lot of money, but if you go on like Amazon.com, I mean, you can get them all for really cheap. You can get them for used, really cheap. So don't panic, don't give up. If you're not rich, I mean, I'm definitely not rich. So definitely, anybody can get these resources pretty much. It's not hard. I mean, you can even go to your local library, and your library has, usually a language section. So definitely check out your library too. I mean, I found some stuff at the library I was surprised to find, like Navajo dictionary and a Somali dictionary, just some different kooky fun stuff. So, and then, like I said, finding a native speaker is always great too, so if you have a friend who's a native speaker, count that as a resource. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. I mean, like I said, you can always find stuff on the internet, online dictionaries and all that kind of stuff, but the important stuff is you get yourself language manual. I recommend getting yourself at least 2 or 3 different ones and going through them. And then getting yourself a good dictionary, a big thick one like the Oxford ones. Getting yourself some pocket dictionaries, maybe a grammar book, some phrase books, do a language book, and maybe even flashcards. Sometimes I use flashcards. Here, I'll show you. Yeah, flashcards for language too. Those always help. And once you have those things, then you're pretty much good to go. And then after that, really you can understand some news, news clips. Like go on YouTube and look. Well, you're already on YouTube, but you can look up, like news clips, or you can go, on Google and search some news articles in the language you're trying to learn, and then you can use your dictionary. And you learn new words that way by going across the words you don't know. Like once you get past the kind of beginner level, the intermediate level gets really fun, and that's when you can learn a lot of new stuff, and you can even learn new words just by the way they're said in context. You'll understand because you already know so many words. So yeah, I mean, language learning is pretty fun, and it doesn't, once you have the right tools, it's pretty easy from then on there, So use these tools and get to your language learning.